we're going to be talking about the Fox sisters. So this whole thing was called one of the greatest religious movements of the 19th century. They basically kickstarted the whole, like, spiritualism thing. Was it real? Was it not? We will find out at the end. Okay. The Fox sisters. It all began in Hydesville, New York, with two young girls living in a farmhouse with their mother. Didn't say anything about a dad, so I'm not really sure if he was around, if he was in the picture. But anyway, so they lived in a farmhouse in Hydesville, New York, with their mum, Margaret Fox. There was also Margaretta Fox, aka Maggie Fox, who was 14, and her sister Kate, who was 11. So there's Maggie and Margaret, okay? Margaret is the mum, Maggie is the daughter. Let's not be confused, okay? Because it is confusing when people have similar names, isn't it? In March of 1848, the sisters claimed that a spirit was communicating with them by knocking on the walls and the furniture, like proper or something like that. They claimed that this happened at night time. Every night time there would be. The neighbour too claimed that they heard these knocking noises, but they couldn't possibly believe that these could be the work of spirits and or ghosts and or spirits. I'm going to show you a picture of the farmhouse. Now, by the looks of it, the farmhouse was detached, so I'm not quite sure how the neighbour could hear the knocking if they weren't actually anywhere near the house. Possibly they were walking past at night and heard it. I'm not really sure, but we'll just gloss over that. So to clear up all the, confusion, to prove that there indeed was a spirit living in the house, the neighbour and the girl's mother, Margaret, joined the sisters for a demonstration of such things. So Margaret, the mother, apparently actually led the demonstration, so she must be a great believer, like, oh my gosh, look what is happening in my daughter's room. I always want to say apparently, because it could be a load of bullsquit, but apparently the mother, Margaret, said to the ghost, count 5, leading to the sound of 5 thuds to be heard. Then she asked the spirit to count to 15. I'm not doing 15 knocks, but guess what happened? 15 knocks were heard. And then she said to the ghost, tell me the age of the neighbour. I mean, I'm supposed to use the neighbour's name, but I don't know the neighbour's name. The neighbour was just the neighbour. So tell me the age of the neighbour. So 33 thuds then came. 33, that's quite a lot. The ghost must have just been like, I don't really understand this bit, but Margaret apparently said knock if you are injured, or knock 3 times if you are injured, and the ghost did. Probably broke his knuckles, to be fair, at this point. So the date of this demonstration may be significant. It was March the 31st, the eve of April Fool's Day. The mother didn't actually question this, that maybe her friends, no, her daughters could be playing some kind of prank on her. But I assume this has been going on for quite some time. So the fact that it's April Fool's Eve, does that really make a difference if they've started this prank weeks prior? Do you know what I mean? So I don't really know what the significance of that was. Just a coincidence, I dare say. So I don't know when this happened, but apparently Maggie and Kate were then shipped off to live with their older sister, Leah Fox Fish. After them and their mother and father, maybe? I don't know. No mention of the father. All left their family farmhouse. I don't know why they moved. Nothing was said. I think maybe they were sick of all the knocking, to be quite frank. So the girls moved to Rochester. That's where Leah Fox Fish lived. So Rochester was known for being quite religious, and nearby in the Finger Lakes area of New York, Mormonism and Millerism began. I don't actually know what Millerism is. I kind of looked it up and I got confused. So there were two people called Isaac and Amy Post. They were community leaders and they heard all about what was going on with the Fox's sisters. Not the Fox's sisters, the Fox sisters. The first one sounded like the sisters of the Foxes. You know, those foxes we've been talking about. So there was a rumour going around that it was the spirit of a murdered peddler who was living in the Foxes' farmhouse that they've now moved out of. And there was actually an examination carried out on the cellar of the farmhouse, conducted by residents of Rochester, who apparently ended up finding bone fragments and hair. So Isaac and Amy invited Maggie and Kate Fox to their home to see if they could communicate with spirits there as well, or if it was just the spirits in the farmhouse. Spirits, whatever. Isaac was a little skeptic, but he was convinced when Kate and Maggie's older sister Leah also claimed to be a medium and communicated with the spirit of Isaac and Amy Post's dead daughter. Isn't it funny how Leah too claimed to communicate with the dead? Amy and Isaac were like, this is incredible, we need to take it to the masses. So they rented the biggest hall in Rochester and 400 or so people attended to see the Fox sisters at work. Now the sisters were taken, now when they say sisters, I presume it's just Maggie and Kate at this point. Just saying. So Maggie and Kate were taken to a private room where a group of skeptics inspected them for any signs that it could be a hoax. So anything on them that they could be using to make the knocking sounds, I guess. So they basically like stripped them down, I imagine, which is like, whoa, okay, they're young girls. I don't actually know how old they are at this point, truth be told, because I'm lost in my dates and there are no dates, so I don't know. But they found nothing. They found no signs of being a hoax. Interesting. So after this meeting group thingy was a success, they then went on to perform in New York, and they had all sorts of newspapers reporting on them because they were like the up and coming people in spiritualism. Like, oh my God, these people communicate with the dead. This is unheard of. I guess it kind of is unheard of at that time in a way. I don't really know. But do you want to know the dirty truth about these girls? They were lying. It was all a hoax. It was a sham. It was a charade. It was really weird how they did it, and I don't actually understand how they managed to do this. I'll tell you. Maggie and Kate made all the knocking sounds, thuds as well. They were described as thuds. You know what a thud sounds like, right? Like a thud. Doosh, doosh, doosh. Yeah, quite loud, right? Apparently they did all this by cracking their joints, including their knuckles and toes. How can you actually do that? So when their mum was in there being like, ghost, how old is the neighbour? And the girls are like, God, crack, crack, crack. Do you know what I mean? Like, how is that actually possible? And how does no one see them do it? How does no one actually see them make these cracking sounds? Because you can't just do it without like pulling things and cracking things back, can you? And can you make such a loud thudding noise with your joints? It doesn't make sense. So Maggie actually confessed this in 1888. So this was 40 years later. Wow. She was like, I can't keep up the charade anymore. It were my joints. It were my joints this whole time. But anyway, she confessed, but it was too little too late, to be fair, because they were already massive celebrities. They started a spiritualism craze in the USA and Europe. So they just everyone was in a frenzy about them. I mean, there was a lot of people that thought they were fake, and they also thought they were cracking joints. That would not be my first thought. Unless I heard the pops myself, then I could be like, oh, that sounds a bit like double jointed or whatever, you know. But others truly believed that they were communicating with the dead. So, and like, you're on stage and you're saying, oh yeah, this spirit knocks, knock, knocks, and you're just sitting there cracking joints. What if your joints don't crack at the time? I'm really perplexed by this. I don't understand. So anyway, things became more of a show rather than a like spiritualism thing. You know how when the media gets hold of it, it then becomes into this whole entertainment industry. So it's basically like theatrical performances. You know, the lighting, the music, seances. Ooh, you know, like big shows. But so yeah, in the 1850s, you then have Ira, and William Davenport. They became famous for creating magic shows pretty much, but claimed that it was all the work of spirits. Whereas you get the other side of things, like apparently Harry Houdini, who based the whole magic act around proving that spiritualists are frauds, pretty much, that everything is a hoax. However, despite this, spiritualism was still going strong, and no one could convince the firm believers that it was complete hoax. Just because the foxes were lying doesn't mean that everyone was lying, which is fair enough. So it remained so popular, obviously due to people believing in it, but also skeptics were going in their droves to see for themselves. I kind of want to go to one of these, like, you know, when you go somewhere and they're like, oh, I have the spirit of your whatever with me. I've heard people so much be like, it was so weird, like, I don't know how they knew this, and this. I would want to go because I'm skeptic. Do you know what I mean? So, like, even if you don't believe, you're still feeding spiritualism if you're paying to go to some show. So it remains popular for that reason as well. At the end of the day, it brought comfort to people who believed they were talking to their loved ones. And there is nothing nicer than that at the end of the day. More people were apparently drawn to it during the Civil War. Lots of people died, obviously. More and more people were wanting to communicate with their loved ones. You've got Mary Todd Lincoln, who was the First Lady. She actually held seances in the White House to communicate with the spirits of her children. And then in 1861, when Queen Victoria's husband Albert died, she also held a few seances, but in Buckingham Palace, obviously, English, to communicate with him. So you can understand why people would want to do that, you know. But when Maggie Fox announced that it was all a big hoax, I'm sure the spiritualism community was rocked in some degree. Apparently, when she did another demonstration after announcing this, she was greeted with cheers, but also hisses, telling the crowd, quote, okay, when I began this deception, I was too young to know right from wrong. Wait, she's American, isn't she? When I began this deception, I was too young to know right from wrong. That I have been mainly instrumental in perpetuating the fraud of spiritualism upon a too confiding public. Many of you already know it is the greatest sorrow of my life. Is it like, girl, you must have got rich out of it too, so I don't know. So, despite the fact that many people since have come forward to admit they are also frauds, there are still dead set believers. What are you? Are you a skeptic? Are you a believer? Have you ever been to a seance? Have you ever been to one of these things where they tell you they're going to communicate with your dead loved one and whatever? Have you ever done this? Because I am genuinely curious. I'd like to know. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. We'll do this again next week, shall we? It's been fun. Thank you. Bye.